Hi, Sonal. Thank you for being here today with me.
Oh, great to be here with you and surrounded by your art. So beautiful.
Yours as well. I love seeing it
Thank
behind
you.
you, and I've been a fan of yours.
Oh, thank
So
you. So have I. I mean, I think your art is so ethereal and it just so nurturing and so radiant sensibilities that you bring into your art with all the body work and the colors and the drapes and all of that. It's so beautiful, so such beautiful warm energy.
thank you. Just like yours, I feel like we do similar work, like because you do figurative work and I do
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well, and we focus on the body. So we have that
yes,
in common. And women, you do a lot of
yes, yes,
pieces of
feminine energies, right?
the
Yeah,
feminine
yeah,
energy, and
yes,
and we'll get
yes.
into that very soon. So tell us about your journey as an artist. What inspired you to become one?
Yeah, so yeah, I think I have always been an artist at heart, and doing everything very artistically, even like setting up the table. I have my own way of doing it. Well, I didn't pursue art initially. I have done my master's in human resources, and I worked in the industry for about 7 8 years,
Oh, wow.
and then I moved to Malaysia. And in Malaysia, I did buy canvases, and I was doing art because I was on a dependent visa. I had nothing to do. I couldn't take up a job, and so that's how I slowly got into art. But the real punch came in after my daughter Anya was born. Um, you know, I said, that's it. I cannot sit at home and not do anything. I mean, I'm happy to be a mother, but there is another side of me which I need to cherish and pursue. And so, it was like, I have to do this. I have to get into art in a big way. So I really didn't have many options at that point in time, which excited me to pursue. But art is something came very instantly, and I just got into it full fledged. And yeah, I haven't looked back since.
Wow, that's amazing. I
Yeah.
could relate to that because I'm a mother of three, and after I had and in the middle while was, taking care of my kids, I was painting as a hobby, and I would do it every now and then. But after my third, um, and Brooke Harker, she came into my life, because of
Yeah.
my daughter. Um, and she came and did henna tattoo at a party, and then a spark, a light went on, and I felt like I got myself back again, because motherhood is beautiful, but you get lost in it and you
Yes.
kind of lose a bit of yourself and
Yes.
your identity of like who you were.
Yes.
So
Yes.
then art was able to bring that, because that's what I did before. Like I created art, and it was what I loved, and I forgot about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I mean, it's like, uh, as a child, also, I've always done art, but it gets lost somewhere. I wanted to pursue fashion designing, but never really went into that side of it. Instead, chose studies because you know how it's indoctrinated, right? Art is not going to give you money and
Yes.
things like that. So yeah, it was so ingrained that you cannot be happy pursuing art. You have to study and you have to make a mark in the world the conventional way, the way others thought was the way to do it. And
Yes.
but that's been my calling since very early on.
Yes.
So it's just that you don't realize it then, you realize it a little later. But I guess as long as you realize it, it's fine, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think eventually, if you, sometimes I say, I wish I was younger when I realized that, because I come
Yeah.
from a culture where it's about, it's better to be more like logical about what you're going to do with your life, like become a doctor, lawyer, something like that. And the
Yeah.
arts is like more as a hobby, and you can't really make a living off of it. So,
Absolutely,
um,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
I totally get that. Totally get that.
it's breaking through those barriers and those I guess, limiting beliefs of what we've been taught or society has taught us.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's like it wasn't an option then, but it became more than an option. It's not an option. It's a way of being for me now.
It's a way of
So
being for you now. I love that.
yeah, yeah.
Was there anyone that inspired you to become an artist?
No, not really. I actually just got into it, and it was like eventually the more I got, the more I started doing, into my course, and I did my MFA right after my daughter was born. So the as and how I kind of threw myself into the into art to find who, which artist inspired me. That's how I started getting my inspirations. So it
Mm,
was Rembrandt, it was Michelangelo, Salvador Dali, and some of my contemporaries. So it's like the more you understand the nuances of it, you find inspirations in those, right?
yes.
So that's what has happened with me. I had no inspirations. I hadn't even thrown myself into art as such. And
Yes.
anyways, being in India, the exposure to art is very less because we don't have those kind of museums and those kind of artists out here. There's not much exposure, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I mean, for me, my inspirations have come later, as and how I started pursuing art as a career.
Which is so interesting because I noticed that there are so many Indian artists. Like they're
Yeah,
so
there are.
creative
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
they have this love and passion for art. And
yeah.
yeah, you would think there would be more of that there in the museums and everything. That's
Yeah, I
interesting.
mean, there are some older artists here like Raja Ravi Verma and all. So we know them, but we don't see. The thing is, when I was working in India, I really didn't have time to go into museums or explore that kind of thing. It was go to
Mm,
work, come back home, eat your food, and sleep. That was the day. On Saturday and Sunday, we just wanted to chill out at home because the weekdays used to be crazy, 12, 14 hours, working, and then you didn't want to do anything on the weekdays. So it was pretty much that. So never really got an exposure into even Indian artists,
wow.
and internet was just coming up. So not a lot of information was there on the internet at that point in time. It was really when I started doing the course and started getting exposed to a lot of artists and information about them, I really got in depth. Even there are a few Indian artists who inspire me so much. Like there is Raja Ravi Verma, very ethereal art, very narrative based. So yeah, those are the kind of artists who really inspire me. But it's only very recently I
Very
have discovered
recent.
them. Yeah, so it wasn't like a very early on.
Amazing. So a recent piece of yours I saw was a male and female figure, the
Yeah.
masculine and feminine energy, which I thought was so beautiful.
Thank
Can
you.
you
Thank
talk about that and what inspired that?
Yeah, so that was a commission that I finished for someone, and I think right from, I'm not sure if I can mention TCP here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
right from the first round, I was trying to focus on the masculine and feminine energies, and how do what first and predominantly, what do you mean by masculine and feminine energies? Because it is such a delicate balance between the both, the way they interact with each other in yourself. So although you will think that a masculine energy is about doing and feminine energy is about intuition and creativity and all of that, but it is so easy to just topple a little on the either side. How do you keep it in balance? How do you keep them interacting with one another? How do you maintain that ebb and flow of masculine and feminine? So I was trying to work on that, and especially when I came from a very very broken masculine, which had led me to a massive burnout initially.
Mm.
So that was very crucial for me. I worked almost for a year on it, And then this commission came to me, and she wanted something along the lines of Shiva and Shakti. Shiva and Shakti is so we in Indian mythology there's a combination of half man and half woman, which is half Shiva and half Shakti, which is called the Ardhanarishwara. And that is that particular avatar of the Shiva and Shakti is about masculine feminine energies and how they need to be balanced. So it was so synchronous because I'm working on it, I'm trying to see and find and do, and that painting actually was like a testament to that whole phase that I was in. How do I balance? So that painting I took a long time to finish, but I completely did only when I felt aligned to do.
I love that. Isn't that amazing how like when we're called to work on a piece, it aligns with whatever we're going through at that moment.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so many such instances, Sheryl, where do I even start? Even the initial commissions I did was I wanted to do something on flamingos, and this lady calls me saying that, can you paint flamingos for me?
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So many such instances that have just come into my life after doing all the inner work, because it's about just being in that phase of your life, embracing it, learning from it, growing from it, and to kind of celebrate that growth, these commissions come to me.
Yes.
It's been like that, and it's amazing.
That's beautiful. And for our audience, TCP is Transformational Coaching Program. That's with Jim Fortin, and it's a great program. And yeah, there are different lessons in it, and so I'm in it right now, and it's wonderful for whoever wants to look it up. So, and you also you do the figurative work of women, and sometimes you have double images, like two faces, which I just think is so beautiful. And what is behind that?
So, I like to call my works energetic works, but not from the point of view of, splashing a lot, not that splashing colors and, vigorous movements and all of that. My works are about a state of mind, a state of mind when you're in your contemplative phase.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say that everything starts with a thought, from a thought there are feelings, and from feelings there are actions, right? So what are your thoughts? I want to catch the viewer or the subject in that thought, or myself in that thought of what is going on in that particular introspective moment. There are a lot of shifts that happen within yourself, because those thoughts give rise to those shifts, whether it's for good, bad, ugly. It births different feelings, different circumstances, right? So I'm attempting to catch that moment, and how to tell the viewer the importance of that particular moment, to pay attention to that particular moment. So that's why it's very contemplative. These are very introspective pieces, and the figures actually represent those shifts in yourself when you're in that. If you just record your introspective moment, you will see there are a lot of facial shifts, there is a lot of body shifting happening depending upon how comfortable you are with something or not. And you'll find that shift, and I'm trying to just capture those shifts.
Yes, I love that. And throughout our lives too, there's so many different versions of ourselves. We're never that same person. I just love those pieces, and they're very captivating. So, yeah, keep it up. Did you ever have any fears or limiting beliefs in becoming an artist?
Not really. I think very little before doing something. I just do it. I mean, not like doing a live or anything, but just, if I've decided that I want to do art, I just want to dive into it and do it. The fears and all started much later, when I had to actually show my art, when I had to actually get there and do the marketing, because it's very being an artist is a very romantic idea, but there is a lot that goes into it, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, the fears and all came much 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 later. There was self-doubt, there was the sense of the need for validation. All of those much came much later. But
Much.
then there is growth in that as well, because it's like, where do you even stop? How do you even know when to stop, while you're doing your art? So yeah, I mean, it's not really like, when I paint, I don't have any fear, I don't have anything. But when it comes to the other part of the painting or the art related business, there are certain things that I'm overcoming now.
I love
So
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I had the same thing. Like when I had to do my first post on Instagram, because I wasn't into social media at all 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
had to do my first post, I was so scared. And I just posted one thing. I think it was a photo of Audrey Hepburn because I love her. And I just posted that and just waited for a few hours before I checked what did people like, right? And there was nothing. There were just a few likes. And it's like, okay, it's not so bad. Like your mind
Yeah.
thinks it's going to be a lot worse than it is.
Yeah, and with the whole thing about social medias, you're fed so many stories. Why do you want to put your life out on social media? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that? It's all about how it works for you or how it doesn't. It's just about, what do you want.
Yes.
You want to market your art. That's one very brilliant avenue, and that's how I've started to just simplifying things. Yeah, so what if people know a little bit about my life? How does it matter? It's not like
Yes.
it's going to come back to you in some way, or even if it does, it doesn't really matter. Nothing matters.
Yeah.
Nothing matters.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what feels right for you. And
Yeah, it just what feels right for you at that point in time. Just go ahead and do that. I guess that's all. That's all that is there to it.
I feel like as artists today, we're so lucky to have this platform because 100 years ago it was so different. And to be
Yeah,
able to share
absolutely.
your work, and
Absolutely.
yeah, you really had to hustle
When
even.
I was mentioning that I didn't know many artists from India, that was one of the reasons. Now there is so much exposure into so many different artists, even from India, which was not there earlier. So we didn't know where to look, and it's like traveling all the way to galleries and all was never something which crossed my mind also, because the galleries were so far away from where I stayed that traveling 1.5 hours each way was like not an option on a weekday. On a
Right.
weekend, sorry, yeah.
For
So
the weekend.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
that
I
makes
mean,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean,
But
that's
now
how,
like, it's available everywhere. Everything is available. You
eh,
just Google the artist and all the works are there.
yes,
So
exactly. Everything is available now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's how we know each other is
Absolutely,
through social
absolutely.
media.
Yes. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great boon if you look at it that way, and it's a great way to spread your voice and make your voice reach people fast. It's a great way to connect with like-minded people,
Yeah.
which was not an option earlier. So the way I look at it, I mean, I think today it's more like a must to be there, and especially if if you are an entrepreneur, if you want to market your stuff. I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah. I agree. Has art healed you in any way?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it has only been art and me, even when I was a child. I don't think, as a child, and every time anything happened, I would start to draw or paint, get into art. As a child, I didn't realize it was healing me. I realize it now.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, today I look at my art as a twin flame, because it's like we're there for each other, and
Mm.
we understand each other, and it's like so communicative. And so for me, yes, art is healing. Doing art is like, or I mean, it's not like I approach it from a very broken state of mind, but whatever the state of mind, and it always uplifts me. So yeah, it does heal me a lot.
Yes, I agree. It always uplifts me. It
Yeah,
always
yeah.
brings something for me, even if the whatever I'm working on doesn't turn out exactly the way I want. Uh, it's served its purpose in that moment, and I could always, put it aside, and I don't have to see it again. But I did it. I created something, got it out of my system, and now moving
Yeah,
on.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, not everything turns out the way you want it to, but again,
You broke up.
it's,
Say that
you know
again.
when to stop. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like we often don't know when to stop creating something or pursuing something, but and it's still there. You want to create more, you create more. You don't want to, you can stop.
Yes.
And so in that sense, I find it very communicative, very responsive, and it's so healing. I mean, all of this, just um, the acceptance you get from your own art is, I think, far more than anything else. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And do you have any words of wisdom for all the creative spirits out there?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just, go out there and do what you feel like doing. Always ask yourself, what do you want? What do you want to create? Do you want to follow? Do you want to inspire? What do you exactly want? Because it's so easy to get lost in the maze of social media, given that there are so many artists today. But I think if you ask yourself, what do you want to create, just go ahead and create that. Even if it means it's just a dot, it is yours, because it comes from your inner guidance. And I think that's very, very important to understand for the creative spirits. What guides you, what motivates you, what ticks you, what triggers you, all of that is an is an outlet for to create your own art.
Yes.
So that's about it. I mean,
I love that. Yes. And
yeah,
and tuning into that inner guidance is
yes,
so
yes,
is key. It's something I wish I knew when I was younger, to trust that
yeah,
intuition. Yes.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, even I went through a phase where I was looking at people. There are people who inspired me. Oh, I want to paint like him. Oh, I want to paint like
Oh,
her.
I've
Oh
done
my,
that too.
yeah, and actually you don't even need all of it. It's good to find inspirations, because it speaks to you, it motivates you to create, but use that inspiration to create something of your own.
Of your own. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
something which, there is obviously a reason why you find that particular thing inspiring, because it's speaking to some sensibility in us, right? When we get inspired by something. So, what is it? Try it and use it. I mean, I have painted like Rembrandt used to paint, I have done all of that. But
Yes.
at the end of the day, that was not me. this what I do now is me.
Well, and what's interesting, I mean, in my experience, when I tried to emulate another artist, that I would see online or something, it never came out the same because our energy is so different. It came out completely different, and I was never able to get it like that. It would just turn into something else.
Yeah.
And I would, after a few experiences of that, I'm like, okay, you need to start developing your own style and just accept like who you are and stop trying to be like someone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So actually the first painting I did in the series that I work in, the kind of work I do, was such an experimental piece for me. I said, I'm just going to do this canvas of 36 by 36 inches is just going to be my experiment. And it turned out so well. Which means, I mean, you will find evidence if you actually get into action.
Yes.
You
Yes.
will be able to create evidence if you get into action that you can actually do what your inner guide is telling you to do.
Yes. And not get so much in your head, and you
Yeah.
just allowed it to flow. I think sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves to create this masterpiece.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you take away that pressure and just say, okay, I'm just going to allow whatever that needs to come will come and enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's how it is. I mean, that is the reason you can never replicate a painting, because if someone tells me, oh, I want the exact same thing of the masculine feminine as you did did it earlier, I'll never be able to do it.
Mm,
Colors will not match, because it is a result of the flow you're in. It is the result of the state of mind you're in.
yes.
So I don't think a single artist has been able to reproduce the exact same way.
No. No, I've tried. I tried to reproduce one of my pieces over again that a collector of mine wanted. She's like, because I sold that one to someone else, and she's like, can you make that same painting for me that you, and I tried, I did my best, but it came out different. And I told her, listen, it's not going to be the same painting. It's going to
Yeah.
be, there's going to be, it was like maybe 5 years ago I made that. I'm in a different place now.
Yeah,
So
correct.
the energy is going to be different. The brush strokes are going to look different. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And the way you hold your brush, I don't even remember what brushes I use for a particular painting.
Yes.
Sometimes I use the flat, sometimes I use the rounds. It's so yeah, I mean it's sometimes I use knives, just knives for a particular section. So how it's very difficult.
Because you're going with feeling at that moment, and that feeling you have is going to be different,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
and the feeling you have in a year or something. So that's great. So where can people find you and your work?
Yeah, so my website is www.sonalramnath.com. You can find me on Instagram and my handle is at Soan, that is SOAAN, or you can just look me up on Facebook. I go by the name Sonal Ramnath, Sonal Relekar Ramnath, or Sonal Ramnath.
Awesome.
So yeah.
And we'll include that in the show notes. And thank you for joining us today and sharing your wisdom and your art and all the beauty that you're creating. So thank you for that. People can also see this on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Sheryl Benjy, so they could see your art that's behind you that is just so beautiful. And I highly recommend people going and seeing you online, seeing like what other pieces you have. So thank you for being here.
It was so good to be on this podcast, Sheryl. I mean, so good to talk to you finally one-on-one. I mean,
I know.
chatting is not the same.
No, it's
So
not the same. It's
yeah,
nice too.
you
And
have a beautiful energy, so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's why I love doing this. I get to dive
Yeah,
deeper into who that person is. It's
yeah,
not the same when you just see them
yeah, it is
online.
not. Yeah,
Yeah,
so good to be here. And thank you so much for inviting me.
my pleasure.